Mike? Here. Blake? Here. Stacy?
Here.
Tom?
Here.
Jen?
Here.
Jim?
Yeah, here.
And I'm here. Item 3, approval of minutes from the previous meeting. We have any comments, questions, changes, additions? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes from the August 12th Planning Commission meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor? Jim?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I vote yes. Meeting minutes are approved. Declaration of receipts of communications by the planning commissioners. Mike?
No.
Can comment? Blake?
I have none, sir.
Stacy?
No.
Tom?
No.
Janice?
No.
Jim?
No.
And I did not have any communications with anyone. Item 4. Planning Director's Report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Seeing that we have a full meeting tonight, I'll keep it short. We're progressing forward on Greyhawk 6 and 7. Highlands 3 at Falcon Lakes is under construction, and Boulder's 4th plat has opened up for housing. So some of the good work that this body has done recently last year is bearing fruit in the field, so to say. Fairway is progressing nicely and should open on time. It's a November opening date, but I'll leave it to the Fairway folks to announce the official date. But and the high school additions are also just slightly ahead of schedule. So in the development world, all is going pretty well.
Good, thank you. Item 5. Rezoning request for Albert G. Holting Trust Property R 22755-R-0 to R2. Public hearing is required.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Alex Van Dyke, City Planner. The parcel for this rezoning request is located just south of Chestnut Street on the east side of 155th Street. The parcel is a little under 5 acres and is currently zoned R0. Historically, R0 has been our agricultural or estate style lots. The current zoning allows for at minimum 1 acre lots. And the request before you is to rezone that to R2. R2 allows for both single family and duplex or 2-family style homes. The minimum lot size in R2 is 5,000 square feet and allows for a maximum density of 8 units or lots per acre, which I would categorize in our comprehensive plan as medium density. It's unlikely that this tract would meet that if developed, given the need for roads to be put in, detention areas, sidewalks, et cetera. But it does allow for a potential maximum of 8 lots per acre. The comprehensive plan does zone this or does mark this as low density residential. And the general area is low density residential with largely R0 and R1 areas surrounding it. There is no development associated with this request. In other words, if approved, this property would not be granted any permits to be developed. They would still have to come back to this body and city council with preliminary and final plats. At which point comments could be made on development. This is just a strictly rezoning request. As you all know, any decisions on rezoning must follow the golden factors, which have been outlined in the staff report with the answers that we had the applicant fill out with their application. Staff is recommending approval of this item, and it does require a public hearing, and I'm happy to answer any questions after the public hearing.
Thank you for your presentation. We'd like to invite the applicant if they have any comments. That is it, the applicant here? No, not yet.
Good evening.
All right. Good evening. My name is Justin Milburn. I'm with Milburn Civil Engineering. Address is 33135 West 83rd Street. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Albert Holting. I'm the civil engineer for this project. Agree with the staff's recommendation and their comments. Just be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioners have any questions? Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
I will now open the public hearing. No, I do. Thank you. Each speaker will have 3 minutes at the podium. Please remember to state your name and address for the record before you're starting your comments.
As I call your name, you can come forward to speak. First name is going to be Scott Holting. Okay, next person is going to be Albert Holting. Okay, next person is going to be Brett Holtus.
Just on, all right. Well, thank you, everybody. Good evening. Happy to be here, and I generally agree. I think this could be a developed piece of property, but I don't know that I agree with going from R0 to R2. If you look at the development plan around it, you look at the neighborhood around it, there's nothing R2 in a mile of it. You've got one on the other side of the 155th, south side of the high school. There's a little neighborhood in there that's R2 with some duplexes, but there's nothing around it, right? You've got R0s around it. You've got R1 across the street. You've got R1 proposed for south of it, and then to the southeast of it as well. There's nothing R0 or R1, or sorry, R2. And I don't know that this needs to be the first spot of it. In the application, it asked, does this meet character of the neighborhood and the zoning of the properties nearby? I don't think it does. I don't think R2 would. I don't think a line of duplexes running down the middle of that property would meet with the neighborhood nearby. You've got large lots next to it, and you don't need to divide it up into a bunch of small ones with minimal yard and minimal sidewalk area. It mentions relative gain to public health and safety. It states that the tax base will offset impacts to the existing infrastructure. I don't know if you went with single family, even R1s, maybe single family homes at the same size lots, going to duplexes, 100% increase in what that does to your sewer systems, electricity, everything else, traffic. So duplexes to me is 100% increase, and I don't know that that's minimal. Other aspects, lot density, right? This plot's 4.9 acres. Looking at the plans, the road takes up an acre of that without any sidewalks. And so if you take out that acre, you go to 3.9 acres, it ends up with 16 duplexes or 32 dwellings. 32 dwellings over 3.9 acres exceeds 8 dwellings per acre, which is in excess of what the code regulations require. So I don't know that meets it, and that was without a sidewalk. And then I don't know about y'all, but when I was looking at my first home, I wasn't super thrilled. I wasn't looking for a duplex. I wasn't looking for multifamily. And I did a little bit of research to see if I'm an anomaly or not, but there's a handful of studies I found. There's a thing, National Housing Survey of 2024, 63% support building single family homes versus 25% of new home buyers for townhomes or duplexes. There's an Oklahoma City study in 2000 where 7% prefer single family, only 4% prefer duplexes. There's a Redfin study in 2019 where it was 89% prefer buying single family home with a backyard versus anything else. So I don't know that I'm alone, and I think the overall trend is that single family homes are generally preferred by new home buyers and looking to come to the area. And so I don't know that duplexes is the right decision.
Time has
Thank you.
expired. The next speaker is Sharon Plum.
My name is Sharon Plum. My address is 15257 Kansas Avenue. I urge you just to sit back, take a breath, and let's not grow so fast. Give the schools, the community, the infrastructure a chance to catch up. Do not, please, don't lower the standards that we have in Basehor. The lot size, the size of the houses, the homes, the atmosphere, please leave it like it is. I know that we have to grow. I know that progress has to come, but let's just step back, let the schools absorb the developments that's already been started. We can't handle all this development so quickly. The schools are overcrowded already. They'll tell you they're not, but anytime you drive by the high school, you'll see the parking lot's full. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Keith Zimmerman.
My name is Keith Zimmerman. I'm at 15230 Chestnut, exactly across from that development, or what will be eventually a development. I can tell you for a fact, duplexes would not match any neighborhood within that area, just as Scott said earlier. Another thing I would also like to reiterate that or at least bring to your attention, is that street will not handle duplex traffic and as many people as you're wanting to bring into that area. Again, I just don't think it's a good fit for us. It's growing too fast with that kind of development around there. I do agree that there needs to be appropriate housing for people to be able to afford, but single housing on a 5-acre lot that, as he said, is going to take up an acre of road and then sidewalks and infrastructure is just a bit too much. Thank you guys for your time.
The next speaker is Carolyn Jeffries.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Jeffries. I live directly across the street from the development right by Keith. And one of our main concerns is, Ernie and myself, is the waterway. Lots of times when we get a big rain, the water across the way at a Jehovah's Witness, it will pull up with water in the front pasture. And then also the ditches will fill up. And we're concerned about if we build duplexes across the way, what that's going to do with the water. We don't want water coming into our houses across the way. Another thing, if you put a road going to Chestnut, as Keith said, you can't handle the traffic. And also we wonder about the headlights that will be coming into our house in the middle of the night. And then if it affects the value of your home, and it also may not be safe for the people actually in the duplex if you don't have road accesses that make it easy to get in and out. And also our schools have too many children, so we would have to make bigger schools. So that's a consideration. I thank you for your time and please. Okay, one thing my husband thought of was if they had a cul-de-sac and not a road on Chestnut, maybe that might be an alternative. But I do not wish to have duplexes across the road. Thank you.
That concludes the speaker signed up for this item.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I move we close the public hearing.
I'll second. All in favor, Mike? Yes. Blake? Yes. Stacy?
Yes.
Yes. Janice?
Yes.
Jim? Yes. I vote yes. Public hearing is now closed. Do we have comments, questions from planning commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I do.
Good, Blake.
Yeah, so staff, appreciate all your hard work and your dedication. Proud that we have the quality staff we do in the city of Basehor. On this particular application on page 8, second paragraph, I'd like to hear maybe a little descriptive further than what we've heard already. The paragraph reads, although there is no development application or site plan submitted at this time, the rezoning would establish appropriate zoning for the property in advance of future development. Any subsequent development proposal would be subject to review and approval through the city's established planning and permitting process. So appreciate that paragraph very much. And in light of the growth concerns we're hearing, particularly traffic, drainage, safety, schools. Does staff have anything further to say after that paragraph possibly?
Yeah, just that if the rezoning is approved, or for that matter, any development in the city that wishes to develop tracts of land for housing, they submit a preliminary and final plat that along with that contain a stormwater study, at many points a traffic study. And at that point, when staff reviews those plans, we can address concerns such as traffic, stormwater, et cetera. But it's not until that point that we address those. And the zoning just establishes what could potentially go there and what has the right to go there. It does not establish the plans or set out the lots itself.
Yeah, thank you, Alex.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
And when the developer does submit a proposal, will there be a public hearing for that?
For R2 developments, there is not a public hearing, although the packets are published online just as this one was, and neighbors can submit letters to the planning commission or to city staff to be included into packets. So there are still avenues to voice concerns, but there are not public hearings with plats.
Mike, did you have anything?
Yeah, one question I had was at the end of this section, they've got kind of just a little map drawn out of it. Is the intention of this to tie into the proposed subdivision to the south? Do we know that for sure yet?
There may be in the future, but I would just comment that all of the subsequent rezonings that we'll hear that are connected to this property should all be decided independently of each other, as they're all separate rezonings and don't have anything tying them together at this point.
All right, and then typically with rezonings like this, as we've kind of gone through it typically from R1 to R2 has been acceptable, but going from like R1 to R3, extending that density that much is typically a, I guess for lack of better terms, a no-go on this, but taking one step at a time, such as this proposed in here, from the surrounding neighborhoods is I guess not a little bit, but more of an acceptable change in density.
In staff's opinion, this is just a vacant piece of land that at least has never submitted an application for development before. So just as we have some applications that go to plan residential for higher density or for commercial, it's just the first time that it has been brought to staff's attention to be rezoned. So the leap isn't as much of a concern as much as the surrounding area and whether it fits the plan for that area.
That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to second Blake's comments about our wonderful staff. So I do have a question, and I always get a little bit confused about kind of the role of the planning commission as regards to the Golden case. I always hear that. Can you just give me that high level, because it's listed in all of our documents here. Can you just, how does that relate to the planning commission?
Yeah, so planning commission's role in rezoning is to, I guess the vote of the planning commission goes as a recommendation to city council for rezonings. Both city council and planning commission must follow the golden factors in deciding whether or not a rezoning fits the general area, the comprehensive plan. It's established in Kansas law that we at least have to follow these factors in addition to a few others that city staff can add to that. But it's what's required to base the decision off of one way or the other.
Janice, did you have anything?
Why was it the request of the property owner in the rezoning to include the duplex category in the rezoning and not just single family? Or was that a recommendation that staff has put forward?
Yeah, so the application was submitted entirely by the applicant and their ideas for what development may occur. And they decided, based off their review, and the applicant can speak to this if they wish, that R2 would fit best for the category that they see their plans in the future. So that was entirely applicant driven and then reviewed by staff.
Thank you.
Jim, did you have anything?
Yeah, I just have one quick question. And I think you already answered it. There has not been a storm water study done on this property as of yet, correct?
Correct, and that's not something that would be included in this packet for just for the rezoning. For development, it would be, but not for
So
rezoning.
before we approved a preliminary plan for it, we would have that. It from the look of it, from the 30,000 foot level, you don't see any hydraulic issues, but you can tell that there's a riparian zone at the south end of the church lot and the south end of this lot, which looks to me like it would flow into the lot to the south of it, which I'll probably get into that when we get into that.
Right. All of those concerns will be addressed for all lots, including this one, anytime that they're developed.
Okay, thank you.
I have had some questions, comments, but they've all been covered. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Mr. Chairman, Blake Waters, in light of all the discussions and really appreciate the public comments and concerns. I do feel like we're going to get those addressed, therefore, at a later stage of the applications, et cetera. Therefore, I move to approve the request for the zoning request for Albert G. Holting Trust to R2.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Mike?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
Janet? Stacy?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion's approved. Moving on, item 6, rezoning request for All In Enterprises LLC property R22 565 R0 to R1. Public hearing is required. City staff?
Good afternoon, Alex Van Dyke, city planner. This property is a parcel located just to the east of 155th Street and just off of Lakeside Drive on both the east and west portion of a little over 18 acres. The current zoning for this property is R0, which is discussed as reserved for our large lot, 1 acre, a minimum size of 1 acre per lot. The request is to rezone to R1, which is the strictly single family zoning. The minimum lot size for R1 zoning is 10,000 square feet with a maximum density of 3.5 lots per acre. Both of which would fall under the low density residential category, which is what this property, for the most part, is designated as in our comprehensive plan. It does have a slight portion of medium density residential along 155th Street. Similarly, this is all has R0 and R1 currently around this property and does have access on both the east and west portion for eventual development of Lakeside Drive to go through this property is where this connects to. And again, with this application, this is strictly a rezoning request and no development is application is being heard at this time. Staff recommends approval and I'm happy to answer any questions after the public hearing.
Thank you. Would the applicant care to speak?
My name's Joe Roy. I live at 17123 158th Street. I've done some development in DeSoto and I'd like to, I think this fits into what Baser's looking for in that area there. I'd like to build a nice house in my hometown and I just would like to say that you can look at a couple of my projects in DeSoto and I think you'll find that I build a nice neighborhood. I've got one now that's got 27 lots on it. I had another one that I've built that had 20 lots on it. So I believe that my product is not I don't know how to say it, but it's not your ordinary product that I do it because I want to. I don't need the money, so I do it because I like to, and I treat them all like they're my own. And so I build a good quality house and appreciate it.
Thank you. Public hearing is now open. Do we have
There's no one signed up to speak on this one.
entertain a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll move that we close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Well, second.
All in favor, Jim?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I vote yes. Public hearing is now closed. Commissioners have any, Jim, comments?
I mentioned earlier about the what appears to be a riparian zone to the north to way north of this property, and also the property north of this has what appears to be a riparian zone. It appears that there are a couple of washes in this area that look like they feed into a tree line or hedgerow at the bottom of the property. Is this I'd like to ask the developer, is this a hedgerow or is it a riparian zone, or are we too early to ask that question?
Well,
Yes, please.
So, yeah, so basically there's a little stream that, not really a stream, the only time it's got water is when it rains. So
Yeah.
out along 155th Street, when they put the new street in, they put a CMP underneath the road. So
Okay.
basically what's going to happen right there is up along 155th Street, there's going to be detention pond right there. So anything that comes through that's going to come into the detention pond, and from that, it's going to go under 155th and go down that way. That's why Mr. Holte and I are trying to work together to, I'll do my deal, he'll do his. That way the detention pond catches everything and it's easier for us to work together to make that all happen to where the water goes where it's supposed to.
Okay, and I probably should know the answer to this question, but are you also going to be developing the property to the north of this?
No,
Okay.
no, but we will work together. So he needs a little dirt. I, got extra, so it'll be one of those things we work together on the grading portion of this project. And then after that, we'll see what happens.
but a stormwater study has not been done on
That is correct.
this property yet.
This is just to get rezoned, and once it gets rezoned, then instead of us spending $100,000 to get the plans drawn, this gives us a little.
That makes perfect
Yeah.
sense. All I know is that, and this is probably not a fact, it may just be my personal opinion. The hydraulic flow, the stormwater runoff tends to run in this area north to south or in a northerly to southerly direction.
You know, the high point is kind of in the middle of these projects, so some of it is gonna come towards 155th Street. And the majority of it there will be some that goes back to the east, but the majority will come to the west.
Yeah, and the concern was is to the east. I just happen to know a couple of families that live on 151st Terrace, the west side of that street. One of the families has had basement flooding and have had to recalibrate their yard, do a bunch of work to keep the water out. The other family has not had any issues, but neighbors of theirs have had similar issues. I am concerned that the northeasterly flow of water from these parcels may be flowing that direction because of the haphazard nature. One person has water problems, one person doesn't. I think that's something that as you progress on this project, and I'll discuss it with the other developer, we need to keep that in mind because I think we have a zero runoff policy, but that means you're not supposed to create any more runoff than what you had before. But it sounds to me like we may have a situation here where the initial runoff might have been excessive and we may need to take a look at something like that.
I will tell you that we have done enough planning ahead, that's not the only detention pond. Okay?
Yes.
That's not the only one that is going to be on this site. I believe there's two others also.
Okay.
That will address what you're talking about.
Very good. My interest in most of the properties that we look at, or most of the developments we look at, is the fact that they're being built on former farmland.
Yes.
And you can sort of look at the 30,000-foot view and you can see where the farmer has, or the person that's tilled this property has left trees in there. And usually it's not just because they didn't want to clear them out. It's because there's generally water in there. And you can look at, you can take the 30,000-foot view and you can see where there could be potential water problems. And I say could be because maybe not. Maybe somebody just wanted to leave it as a wood lot or something like that, or as a hedgerow on on one side of the property. But I'm sure you and I will be discussing that again sometime.
I'll be glad to have that conversation because as a developer, I don't want to impede on anybody else either.
And I look forward to having that conversation with you. Thank you very much. That's all.
Janice, do you have anything?
No, I'm good.
No.
Stacy,
No, I'm good.
Blake?
No, sir.
Mike?
No.
I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the rezoning request to R2 two-family residential district.
Do I have a second?
R1.
I did, guess I didn't hear. She said R2. It's R0 to R1, Janice.
I'll second.
Would you, no, she needs to revise the motion.
Approve the rezoning request to R1 single-family residential district.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, Mike?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
I vote yes, motion passes 7-0. Item 7, rezoning request for Albert G. Holting Trust Property R 310 487 from R0 to R1. City staff.
Good afternoon, Alex Van Dyke, city planner. This property is just to the north of the property that we last discussed. I will save you all from rehashing the property surrounding it as they're all the exact same. I would just like to reiterate that all of these rezoning requests are independent of each other at this time. A public hearing is required for this item and staff recommends approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions after.
Thank you. Would the applicant care to comment? Okay. Public hearing is now open. Do we have any one from public?
The first one will be Ralph Anderton. Believe it may be out.
Oh. I live on 158th Street. For you guys, I do not know Joe. I have watched his homes being built in DeSoto from the ground up. He built a quality house that anybody'd be very happy to live in. He does not cut corners. He puts in his own watering system. He makes sure that nothing has runoff. I've never heard anybody or seen any of his work that I would say that I'd be afraid to live in. Again, he doesn't cut any corners and he will do the best that he can. He'll build a house that he would be happy to live in. And that's one thing a lot of builders will not say. That's about all I got. Any questions on me?
Thank you.
Hey, John.
Any other?
That's all.
Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I move that we close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
All in favor, Jim?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I vote yes. Public hearing's closed. Do we have any comments from the commissioners? And I would like to reiterate, this is a motion on zoning only. Mike? Blake, do you have anything? Stacy? Tom?
No.
Janice?
No.
Jim?
No.
No comments, questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the request for a rezoning request for Albert Holting Trust to R1.
I'll second.
Take a vote. Jim?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion passes 7-0. Item 8. Preliminary development plan and rezoning for Pinehurst Ridge R0 to planned residential. Public hearing is required. Staff?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Alex Van Dyke, city planner. The two parcels located for this request are located roughly on 166th Street and State Avenue on the east side of 166th Street. There are two parcels, one of around 70 acres and one of around 126 acres for just barely under 200 acres total for this development plan. This is currently zoned R0, so as mentioned before, that's largely historically has been our agricultural zoning and currently is our large lot residential zoning. The request is to rezone to planned residential. As you all know, the planned residential does not have minimum lot sizes or a few of the standards that are typically in R1, R2, and R3. But with that flexibility for the developer comes a need to submit preliminary development plans, which is before you today. The preliminary development plan submitted by the applicant is strictly single-family residential with 564 total lots, all designated as single-family residential homes. As is required for planned residential districts, they require 20% total green space for the property. And this development plan contains over 35% green space, well exceeding that amount for that. The future land use plan has kind of a mix of what it designates for this property. It has high density residential, medium density residential, open space, commercial, as whenever the comprehensive plan was put together, it likely wasn't thought of that these two parcels would come together for development. In total, this would have out to 2.83 lots per acre, which would be low density residential. The surrounding properties are largely single family residential across 166th Street with Honey Creek Farms, and on the southwest portion, Ginger Creek subdivision, and then some large lot farm and agricultural lots around it. There is a significant portion of this property designated by FEMA as a floodplain, Zone A, which generally runs north and south through the entire length of both parcels. No residential lots are proposed for any of the parcels, are not proposed on any of the floodplains, as that is not allowed for them to be on floodplains. So they'll all be separated from that area. The current floodplain is currently home to a lot of natural vegetation and trees that the developer has noted in their development plan will almost all be kept except for what's needed to build a bridge across for access for Pinehurst Drive. That provides a very strong buffer driving along 166th Street from any of the development that would occur on this property, as all of that would be maintained. It also provides a buffer of about 200 feet between Ginger Creek on the southwest portion. And as a reminder, for the bridge to be built or any disturbing of the floodplain, that does require permits from FEMA and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, which would be required before any building could take place or bridge be put in. Traffic was a large point of focus for our review, as this has a significant impact on 166th Street and State Avenue. The traffic study completed by the applicant identifies this as a need to be addressed. And at 150 lots is whenever the first improvement is marked to be needed. The initial access is down on Evans Road at the south portion of the lot. And the traffic study indicates that most of those will go to the north to State Avenue and 166th Street, of which a few improvements will be made by adding in turn lanes. At full development, there is a need for more or less a revamping of 166th Street and State Avenue as an intersection. It does, as noted by the traffic study, it does warrant the criteria needed to have a stoplight put in at that intersection. But as noted, there are significant barriers that would impede that. So alternative solutions were sought by the traffic study. What was landed on and recommended was a restricted crossing U-turn intersection or an R-cut. Essentially, that would restrict left turns at the intersection and force all cars to go right with a U-turn down the road. This has been identified to be a satisfactory solution to the concerns of the traffic generated. And generally, R-cut intersections are identified as a much safer alternative to crossing, turning left on such a busy road such as State Avenue. That would occur at a certain point in the development as marked in the traffic study. And since it is on a Kansas Department of Transportation controlled road, the applicant would need to work with KDOT and secure approval and work with them in order to put any of those recommended improvements onto State Avenue. As far as architecture is concerned, the staff has met with the applicant and is overall satisfied with the and recommends approval of the floor plans put in. They range from about 1,500 to 2,300 square feet with options for almost all floor plans of both a 2 and 3 car garage option. All dwellings have a basement included with them, and all nearly all of the lots within the development can contain any of the 10 floor plans provided by the applicant. In addition to that, multiple versions of each floor plan were provided to allow for variation and to make sure that there wasn't the cookie cutter look throughout the development and that there would be adequate variation as you drive through the streets of the development. They do have a amenity area shown on the south portion to be included in phase one, including a clubhouse and pool to be available to all of the residents of the subdivision. There's also an 8-foot trail showing extending throughout the development and also dead ending on a few streets. So if there is future connection and future development around this development and they connect to this, they could connect and create a continuous trail throughout the area. The phasing starts with a smaller phase of 40 lots that would encompass 2 points of access on Evans Road, and then they would continue north in phase one. That would be whenever they put in the clubhouse and amenity area. And then it gets into the 80, 90, and 100 lots per phase as they continue through this, the 7 phases. The applicant is requesting a reduction in setbacks for all of the lots. There is no requested reduction for the rear yard. There is a 10-foot deviation request of minus 10 feet for the front yard. In other words, the standard distance from the right-of-way or property line would be 35 feet, and the applicant is requesting that they be allowed to be 25 feet from the property line, and the side yard setback is requested of 5 feet. In other words, the dwelling can be extended up to 5 feet from the property line. In order for the planning commission to grant this deviation, you must find that 4 conditions are met. I won't read them all down as they're included in the staff report, but staff finds that generally that there is significant barrier with the floodplain, that there will not be a significant impact on the surrounding residents, and that enough space is maintained for firefighting purposes, and the visual character of the community will not be significantly deviated as a result of that. So staff suggests approval of that condition. A notice of public hearing is required and was sent to all the surrounding property owners. 200 feet if within city limits and 1,000 feet if the property is within unincorporated Leavenworth County, as well as plans were shared with some of the other districts, including the school district, fire department, et cetera. Just to, as a reminder of the process, is that this body's vote today is a recommendation to City Council on both the rezoning request and the preliminary development plan, which will both be 2 separate motions and votes. After that, this item will go to the City Council, of which the date has not been set yet, of which their vote will be final. They may override the Planning Commission's recommendation by a 2/3 vote. If approved, the applicant must submit a final development plan, which will also be heard by this body and City Council. If that is then approved, then they still must submit a final plat and construction documents along with that. So this is step 1 of that process. As with all of the rezonings that we've gone through today, the golden factors have been included in the staff report as for the decision for the rezoning request. Staff has included 6 conditions of approval for the preliminary development plan. Most of them are fairly standard as to following the conditions of approval, such as a final development plan must be submitted within 2 years, et cetera. And then we've also included 2 conditions that if before any traffic improvements can be made to State Avenue, that KDOT must first sign off on it. And similarly with the floodplain, that FEMA and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers must also sign off as they have authority for those projects outside of the city of Basehor. With that, staff recommends approval of both items. The applicant has joined us and is also happy to answer any questions as is staff after the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Now? Yeah. Okay, for my clarity. So we're going to be acting on two deals here. First thing that we're going to act on is a preliminary development, correct? No.
The first vote will be on the rezoning request,
Thank you.
and then the second vote will be on the preliminary development plan.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, so the first one we act on, what is the case number, just for my clarity?
Yeah, the case number is PRZ-002-25.
-25.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Elvis.
Would the applicant like to speak?
Good evening, Commission. Andrew Gribble with Kinley Horn, 7300 College Boulevard, Overland Park. Just want to say thank you, Alex. Great presentation. And Jim and Alex, thank you for all the hard work the past few months. Just wanted to reiterate a few things that Alex had touched on and did a great job. First off, the stormwater, yes, we would have to be crossing the creek to get from 166 to our property. We know that if we are impacting the floodplain, we will have to go through any sort of permitting for that with the Army Corps. And then second, traffic. We have a traffic engineer tonight or here tonight if there are any questions for him directly. And then on the lot sizes, so as Alex mentioned, 1,500 square foot is the minimum building area or house square footage, but that does not include the basements, and all of these houses do have basements. And then the last one that I kind of wanted to touch on was the sewer. So the site currently does not have sewer, and we would be extending sewer from the south end of the property all the way to the north end, where there is the lift station on the west side of the creek. And with that, Ginger Ridge subdivision down on the southwest, they currently are discharging into a lagoon on our site. So we would actually be picking up all of their flow, putting it into our system, and then once it gets all the way to the north, it would be pumping to the two lift stations that it would be ultimately connecting to. Other than that, here to answer any questions that you guys may have. And thank you.
Any questions for the applicant? Thank you.
I was gonna say, I have a question for his traffic engineer, but do we ask those questions now or do we wait till after the public hearing?
Staff would prefer that we wait until after the public hearing.
Okay, I'll hold my question until after the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearing is now open. Each speaker will have 2 minutes at the podium. Please remember to state your name and address for the record before you start your comments.
Okay, this is just a reminder, when you come forward to please state your name and address clearly. And when there's 1 minute remaining, I'll let you know. The first speaker is Scott Holting.
Scott Holding, 18283 178th Street. I wanted to come up and talk tonight. We own the property straight to the east of this proposed development. And I'm sure you're going to hear a lot of folks talk about the density and those kind of things. And staff did talk about future development in the area. And I want to make sure the city's keeps that in interest at heart. If you flip to page 47, I think it was, or that when you just head up to the drawing, they do stub the one street into the property, but to service the north end, but they kind of landlock us on our south line. And so I'd be interested in, the city's thoughts on further access to the other properties associated, but up to this property. Streets in, sewer access, those kind of things. And then our property is a working airport currently.
There's 1 minute remaining.
And their proposed walkway is right up against our property line, which creates safety issues for us, trespassing issues for us, to keep their future tenants or residents off our property on their common walkway. Thank you.
Speaker is Brett Holtis.
Brett Holt's house, 1700 North 155th Street here in Baser. So again, I kind of mentioned it before. It's on the density. They mentioned it meets like you mentioned, it meets a lower density at 2.8 or so lots per acre. But I think when you need to take into the account of that equation is your roads, your floodplains, retention ponds, and it sounds like there is a big floodplain that needs to be taken out of that acreage. And so I think going from, was it close to 200 acres, I think that some floodplain brings you closer down to maybe 100 acres of developmented land. And so you're looking at north of 5 lots per acre, which fits the definition of medium density residential as opposed to low density residential. Which I think when you go back to the plans and look at that, what that development looks like, there's, you know, a lot more houses, and that's very much a medium density versus what was, I think, proposed as a low density. Going just from again, when you get into the density, you get into your kind of building codes and guidelines. So you're already reducing your setbacks, and take into the account your lot size with your extended setbacks, and then you've got your larger footprint homes. I think you start missing on those 3 garage stall designs, right? That's going to not comply with your other building codes versus like frontage of house is so much of a garage perspective. So all the 3 garage renderings that you've seen probably aren't going to be realistic. It's probably going to have to be 2-car garages, and it's going to be all smashed together. So those are a couple things just wanted to hit. And then again, with the sewer, you're picking up another sewers are going to be like some 15-year tax burden or something that other development is going to have to cover. So I just want to think about how that's tied in and logistics of that. Thank you.
Next speaker is Albert Knapp. The next speaker is Diana Thurlow.
Hi, I'm Diana Thurlow. I live at 17363 166th Street. That's between Evans and Kansas Avenue. These 564 homes are not the only ones proposed in the general area. I would like everybody to keep that in mind. The county, Leavenworth County, not Baser City, has 120 more homes planned or being built in less than a mile from this development. That number does not include the large acreage areas that are owned by Epic Estates, which will come after this review, and Ad Astra's property on the other side of Glenwood area. Such a large influx of homes will add tremendous strain and cost to all types of the existing infrastructure, especially the schools, fire, police, emergency services, water, wastewater, and traffic. The traffic study numbers done by Kimley Horn and Associates, I believe, are too low. The data collection says that the intersection of Evans Road and 158th Street was monitored on June 4th. This is long after all the schools were out for the summer, the largest amount of traffic on 158th when the schools are not in session. They did not also take into consideration the existing 80 homes that Riley is developing on the southeast corner of 166th and Evans. Those also have planned exits onto Evans Road and 166th. And it also doesn't take into account 40+ homes already being developed on 166th, Evans, and off of Kansas. They also say traffic growth is 1% per year for 20 years. I think that's too low, considering what I just stated and all the increased traffic coming in on state from Tonganoxie, who has high density housing developments now underway. Then you've got the signal intersection issue where you've got the extended U-turn. That extended U-turn from 166, you got to go right or you got to go left. You can't go straight. You're crossing over 2 sections of state, making a U-turn.
Your time has expired.
Thanks for your time.
The next speaker is Curtis Witt.
Hello, my name is Curtis Witt. I live straight across from the power plant, 18421 166th Street. I know growth is coming and we can't stop it. But when you're gonna put 52 by 125 lots, those lots need to be at least 75 foot. Nobody wants to open their window and be able to spit on the house next to them. We see that as we go into Tonganoxie with your your mass density houses they're putting on the hillside right there. I mean, that really is not what we want around here. And that's what I don't want to look out my front window and see every night. As far as getting on State Avenue, if you're gonna put lights on it like they did on 7 Highway, just put a stoplight and be done with it. Get it worked out between a DOT and everybody and just put a stoplight there and slow the speed limit down a mile back. Because people exiting Tongi in the morning, you spend 10 to 15 minutes sitting in line.
Just 1 minute.
And there is probably, I would say, at least 30% of the cars through there go straight across. So you're gonna go up, you're gonna get over into the fast lane, make your U-turn like Mrs. said earlier. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. You know, I do not participate on 7 Highway. I go north or south on 7 Highway. I don't go east or west on Parallel. I'll go to State Avenue or I'll go to Leavenworth Road. I do not participate. That is ridiculous. And then again, our schools are already overgrown. Our taxes are going through the roof to try and keep up with our school bonds. And what about our police guys? We're gonna need more of them. Gene ain't gonna be able to keep up on all these extra roads. So that's gonna have to grow. So there goes our taxes again. And my taxes have doubled in the last 3 years I've lived there. And before that, I lived there 22 years and they only went up
Time's expired.
a couple $100.
The next speaker is Monica Brooks.
Hi, my name is Monica Brooks. I live at 18100 165th Street, right off Evans Road, and basically 166th. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here tonight as a resident who lives right close to where they're planning on building 564 homes in their proposed addition. That land that is there is not going to hold that amount of property that is being proposed to be built. The proposal is unsafe. On 200 acres that's proposed, you've got your floodways, you've got your green space, the 35% that's being planned. That cuts it down to, as we've been mentioning, about 100 acres that's going to be proposed to hold those 564 homes. That is not safe. You want to cut down your side yards to 5 foot. I'm 5'3". That means a side yard would be shorter than I am. You put that next to another home, you've got 10 feet with agriculture that the homeowners are gonna put in and a risk for fire breaks out. It's not safe. Talking about our schools. These homes are single family homes that are gonna pull in families with children that we want. Our schools are not accepting any outside children at this time, as the state of Kansas says that they can. That's on a lockdown right now due to us being overpopulated in our schools. Anywhere from our elementary to our high school, we are over the numbers that are set for these school buildings. When we increase this in the next 34 months of these homes being built from the start to end, our school cannot hold what is planned. I ask that you think of our children. I've lived in Basehor for 17 years. I want my kids to finish out their school districts here. I've got a high schooler that just started and ended middle school. I want them to be able to stay, but if we have a school where it's overcrowded, they're not getting the education that we want them to have, we will look elsewhere. We want to stay in Basehor. We don't want to have this overcrowding happen. Please vote.
Time has expired. The next speaker is Dwayne Snelling.
Snelling 154 in Hollingsworth Road, Base, Kansas. The proposal here is an absolute joke. The impact of the surrounding areas for the water runoff is severely understated. Too much population expansion too quickly. We've heard about the schools. My son is a special needs student in our school, and it took our school district 3.5 to 4 years to hire him an interpreter because we don't have the resources available for the students that we currently have. So whenever we have flux of families and when we have so many more students to provide resources for. How much more are these students going to suffer? This is absolutely ridiculous. 80 to 90 homes each phase in 7 phases, 564 lots proposed right now. And the picture you saw behind is not what you're going to see in these neighborhoods. It's a flat lie by the developers. It's not going to have that greenery around it because the green picture is bigger than 5 feet. You're going to see the next house. It's absolutely ridiculous. The traffic is absolutely ridiculous. And I would like to remind this council that they represent the constituents that are currently here in the city. And elections are coming. And if an approval comes for something that is going to negatively impact our community this much, I promise you the elections are going to be different this year. Not to mention the possible kickbacks that we're getting from a city planner and city council here and the planning commission that are going to come from these deals. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's a betrayal of our community and our people, and it will negatively affect us.
Speaker is Ray Anderson.
My name is Ray Anderson. I'm at 15526 Evans Road. A lot of things have already been covered. It was on my list. I didn't realize I only had 2 minutes. So I'm going to cut to the chase. I'd like to draw your attention to the developer's plans where they're asking for 52-foot frontages, 125 setbacks. We'll look at phase 1. Lot 21 through 24 is 39 by 46. Lot 29 is 38. Lots 30 has only got a 16-foot backyard, 5 foot on each side. With that said, you've got all the plans. Look at them closely. And then as far as the development of the property, we're only asked that we get quality construction. I'm all for development, but not of this type, et cetera. I would like for you to look in closing that the DR Horton has numerous outstanding lawsuits, class action suits, and over 1,000 better business complaints that are still unresolved. I've provided snapshots of an addition they have up in Platte City where they required a 74-foot with a 33-foot setback. As you can see in the picture with the truck parked in the driveway, a visiting car has protruded clear out past the sidewalks. Only other choice is to put them on the streets. You put them on both sides of the streets, you're not going to be able to get ambulances, fire trucks, utility vehicles, or anything in there. Right now, they show 2 entrances and exits for over 300 or 400 of the homes, all coming out on Evans Road. It's going to make it impassable for everyone. I just learned tonight they want to shut down State Avenue. If they want to do that, you're going to have them backed up from 155th or 58th to 155th because your one little turn lane ain't going to get it. It's going to back up forever because people will make a left-hand turn. You block them at 166, you're going to push them back up to 158. Another problem that needs to be addressed. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Joan Robinson. Please again, remember to speak your name and address and speak into the mic clearly.
Good evening. My name is Joan Robinson. I live at 17754 157th Street, Basel, Kansas. I would like to reiterate pretty much everything everyone else has said. I want to focus on a couple things. One is the traffic. That study was done in June. As they said, we're not in school in June. All those students, all that traffic is not going to go up to State. Twice a day, it's going to go to a school. The nearby schools are down on 155th Street, which we between the elementary and the middle school. So with 500 and some homes, almost 600, you're talking about probably 12 students. And where are they going to go to school? Down 158. So we're already overloading those schools. We're already overloading the traffic. The other thing I would like to address is the planned residential developments in general. And then we add on exceptions to them. They're already very small lots. very small lots, as the people have already talked about, and you then give variances. If we're going to do a plan, could we at least stay with in the zoning regulations for it instead of giving more variances? But I agree with everyone. The zoning are not like that. And I don't know how we can continue to handle this much growth. You've had like 4 people in a row talk about the numbers, the vast numbers of what's going to happen on the south end of town. So with that, thank you very much.
The next speaker is David Miller.
My name's David Miller. I live at 16580 Quail Walk. A lot of people have had a lot of shared concerns, and I think it really comes down to the density. My main concern is you look at the setback requirements. We have setback requirements for a reason, because it builds quality communities that everybody wants to live in. Maybe one area in that entire map in the city of Basehor where we waive setback requirements so a developer can make more money. That's not how we should be building our communities. And you can't tell me that it doesn't visually impact all the $500,000 homes that are on the side of that, you know, the south side, and that the county has all this further lots, that doesn't visually degrade the community around them. So you have to say no to waive the setback requirements. And that's my main point I want to make to the committee, that I strongly oppose us waiving this, where we do. We're just creating a high place in this city for no other reason than a corporation to make money. Thank you.
The next speaker is Amy Clouser.
Amy Clouser, 17475 158th Street, Basehor. Well, here we go again, this time with D.R. Horton, another greedy out-of-state builder with a reputation for using cheap materials, not standing behind their warranties, and causing harm to the environment. This development, along with the others being planned, far exceeds the city's own vision for growth within the community. What is most concerning about this plan is the large number of homes crammed into an area that's not suitable for so many residents. The current infrastructure, fire, medical, police, and schools will not be able to handle such a large influx in such a short period. This community needs thoughtful, steady growth by local builders that will care about the community, not harm the environment, and not bleed the taxpayers dry with huge property tax increases. The school district is already addressing significant capacity issues. In 2024, the voters in this area voted yes for $60 million school bond to help the already strain on the schools. The school's own consultants said it will grow by 165 students K through 5, 88 middle school, and 152 students at the high school. This proposed development alone will far exceed the projections. For those that say the area needs more homes before businesses will come, the website kansasdemographics.com shows this area's population to be 7,996, while Bonner Springs is just at 7,832. I commend the city for thinking forward and wanting growth such as the Fairway deal, and I encourage them to look for sound and safe growth that will benefit the community and not harm the environment.
Next speaker is Beth.
Good evening. My name is Beth Hofer. I live at 16568 Quail Walk Street in Basehor. Good evening to the chairman and members of the Planning Commission. Thank you for your time and consideration. I am here supporting the others who are opposing this proposal. As you may know, this affects Ginger Creek quite significantly. The density and the traffic are my primary concerns, environmentally, as was already stated. You may be familiar with the road of 166th Street, which is fairly hilly. There is a blind corner there if you're trying to turn. There have been accidents. You can probably ask whoever's here to answer those questions. 2 fatalities in the last 21 years that I have lived on that street within that 1 mile stretch, possibly more. As I have high schoolers who drive to school, this is a very big concern. That density and number of homes that is in this proposal with the setbacks and exceptions that they're requesting does not speak to, I don't believe, how we want to build and expand our city. We understand growth is happening. I just urge you and ask you kindly to pause, use your wisdom and your discernment to maybe wait on this proposal, wait for one that might be a little bit better and more conducive to the city of Basehor. Thank you for your time.
Next speaker is Ginger Turner. I believe she may be out there.
Hello, my name is Ginger Turner. I live at 15651 Pine Ridge in, I'm not that close to the development, but I'm very close to Evans Road. And I go out of a morning and try to turn onto 158th, turn left from my street. And it's already, if you go during school hours, it's really already too crowded. I can barely get out. And that is one of my main concerns is the amount of traffic that this will bring. It's said on there, sorry, nervous, 4,980 daily trips. And that's a lot. So, and I think like someone said earlier that coming out on most people will be coming out on Evans. It's just too little. And I think the impact on roads is going to be too big. I think the impact on schools is going to be bad. I also think that if we could just lessen the amount, that would be great. It's too dense and it's too crowded. It's just not good for Basehor, and that's why I moved here. So thank you for your time and thank you for letting me speak.
That concludes the speakers.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
I have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, Jim?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
Yes. I vote yes. Public hearing is closed. Commissioners,
I have comments, but I don't want to.
can I start with Mike?
You bet.
You
Absolutely.
have anything, Mike?
I do. I think this is probably for our city staff. Just addressing the concerns with where they figured the density numbers. Was the floodplain included in that total area? Can that be used to figure the total density of the subdivision?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the floodplain was included. How common open space or usable open space is counted is that any area or lots that are free of structures, buildings, significant improvements, and then some other minor details such as not 50%. They can't be above 50% grade on the property. So yes, it was included. And then it's just a simple calculation with our code of the amount of lots divided by the total area of the parcels is the open space percentage.
Thank you. Second question was answered. On our side yard setbacks on this development, is that measured wall to wall, wall to lot, or is that measured from the peak of the roof to the edge of the lot.
The wall, right, the foundation. Yeah, it's the wall of the property.
Okay, so there could potentially be another 3 foot of roof overhanging into that setback. Yeah.
Well, the building code allows 18 inches of penetration in the setback area. This is well vetted through the National Building Code and for fire separation. So, so you can't penetrate more than 18 inches into the setback with the soffit or any architectural appendage.
Okay. Is there anything in there regarding setbacks?
You can build as close as 0 without fire rating 3 feet. We've done flame spread ratings and combustibility ratings, and as you know in your profession, firefall areas, and 3 feet is the minimum national standard. That's developed through organizations like NFPA.
That was all the questions I had.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, Blake Waters, my wife and I moved here to Baser from Tonganoxie about 16 years ago. Jeff Shearer built our new home. We lived in the Hidden Ridge subdivision where I still live. My wife has passed since then. But I think the population was about 3,500 when we moved here in 2009. I may be off there. And I think it's around 8,500 now as I hear it. So I appreciate the stress and attention of the comments made tonight, and growth is hard. Just growth is hard and change is hard. My taxes on my house, and I have about a 1,560 square foot home, I think, 2-car garage, just an average sized home where I live. And I'm pretty sure my taxes I'm gonna have to write a check north of $8,000 this fall. And that's hard. It is hard. And I appreciate all the sensitivity tonight. So taxes and traffic are a big concern of mine. Where I live, I go on 166 to work every morning into Baser and come back. Travel south on 166 numerous times during the week, all this stuff. And it's dangerous that 166 and state interchange, no doubt about it. Having said all of that, all of what we've talked about tonight, all these agenda items are very, very important. This one just happens to hit in my backyard. And so I've spent a lot of hard work on this study, as I know you have. 564 lots. I think that's going to be a population growth between 1,600 and 2,000 maybe in that subdivision there, Pinehurst Ridge. That being said, I've started researching D.R. Horton. I appreciate the comments. I've seen the website, but these guys, first of all, they are a publicly traded company, as some of you have referred to in correspondence. It's under the stock symbol, in case you're interested, of DHI. That stock's just quickly, that stock traded about $177 a share. They built north of 92,000 homes in 2024 in the United States. They're ranked as the largest home builder in the United States. So this morning, as it was raining, I drove to the Prairie Trace development in Gardner. And unannounced, nobody knew I was coming. I went up to the show home. It was pouring, the model home, it was pouring rain. And I happened to catch the building foreman in that subdivision. And I toured the Reagan plan, which is in the packet that you've seen. And then when I was done there, I went over to Spring Hill, another D.R. Horton subdivision, and I walked through the Holcomb model house, and I met with the realtor there. So I talked to a realtor of 25 years experience, and I talked to the supervisor of the builders over there in Gardner. So I researched a lot of background stuff. So those houses that I'm talking about, the floor plans that are in your packet, the Reagan and the Holcomb, priced today at the mid to upper 400,000s. So their presence in the Kansas City metropolitan area, if you haven't searched this already, and I'm sure you have, is growing rapidly. I mean, they've been here about I don't know what, 24 months maybe, and they're just going everywhere. However, in my opinion, everything about the developments that I toured this morning, I didn't go to Platte City, I think is where the gentleman went. And I walked through and I interviewed and all this stuff. I found them to be very well built. I found the developments to be clean, well managed. The one in Gardner had amenities. There was no clubhouses. This one is anticipating, but there was a pool and community area and all this stuff. They've been in business since 1978. Now there's this investment analysis company that I watch periodically. It's called the Morningstar, and it states, this was just today, while we expect a challenging operating environment for home builders over the next 2 years, we believe D.R. Horton's scale, affordable price point, and excellent balance sheet will help it outperform the whole home building industry in the United States. Now, I'm very concerned, voiced this with staff about the lot size over here. I agree with everything that's been said tonight with regard to the lot size. However, that will be addressed later when we get past this decision tonight. I think, correct me, staff, if I'm wrong on that. Yeah, so what we're acting on tonight is the zoning. The development itself, help me out.
First issue.
Yeah, so you're voting on both the zoning first and then the preliminary development plan, both today. And while there are modifications that can be done at the final development plan, those are relatively minor. And if something such as setbacks were to be changed or lot sizes, that would be something that would constitute a reset back to the preliminary development plan. So if this wanted to move to a final development plan, if approved today by city council, it would largely have to follow the outline of what was presented today.
Okay, thank you for clarification on that.
We will first vote on zoning.
That's exactly why I was focused on that.
Second thing would
Be the preliminary,
Plan.
yeah, thank you very much. That helps me a lot, Alex. Thank you, and John. So the first conversation tonight that I am going to be making a decision on, as all of you are, has to do with the zoning. That's first. Then after that, it goes to the preliminary. Okay, thank you. So the lot size in Gardner and Spring Hill, just FYI, on those new houses were located, where they were located, consisted of sizes of about 8,900 square feet. And I think these lot sizes we're talking about are in the neighborhood of 6,000 square feet or thereabouts.
About 6,500.
Yeah, and 5 feet from house side to property line on the side, right? So, that doesn't feel good to me at all. That's all the comments I had, Mr. Chairman. I know how I'm going to vote and appreciate everybody's comments and for listening to me tonight.
Thank you. Stacy, do you have?
I read, my concern is on the traffic report. And reading that, it looked like all the recommendations for State Avenue for 166. But I didn't see any recommendations regarding Evans Road. And I guess that concerns me. I've driven Evans Road many times. And I didn't see anything about that. And I did notice that they did the traffic study at 2 different times of the year. And the one traffic study they did do was in June. And I do think that does make a difference doing it in June versus between August and May. So that's just my comment. I was, I guess, displeased to see there were no changes for Evans Road proposed.
Tom?
I do want to say thank you to all the folks that have come out and spoken. It opens up a lot of thought processes, I think, certainly for myself, and I hope for my other commissioners up here. This is a large impact to our Basehor community. And we know that we want development. I heard that said multiple times. And there's no one in this room, there's no one in this community that does not want good, sound development. For me, I'm reading through as much of this information as possible. And again, I just want to say city staff, that the city staff at Basehor are just phenomenal. They've answered all my questions, but it pops up more questions. And I'm going to be honest with everybody. For right now, I don't have a good sense of what this development means and where I think I need to land on this development. So I'm struggling here.
Janice?
My colleague has captured my thoughts totally. Again, I don't have kids in the schools, but, I know that I do work at a educational institution, so I know the impact of students getting a good education, before they get to college, and, overcrowding is a big concern. Students don't get the attention that they deserve. So I would say that education is my biggest factor in my mind. And traffic scares me to death out there. So I am torn, yes.
Jim?
Traffic is the key word for me also. Am I in a position right now where I could call up the traffic study engineer and ask questions of him? Is this the point of the hearing, point of the meeting that I can do that?
I'm sorry.
Is this the point of the meeting where I can ask a question to the traffic engineer about the traffic study?
Yes.
Could we call him up, please? Thank you very much for doing this traffic study. I've seen the traffic study, the original one from 2003, another one from 2014, another one from 2015, one from 2020. I've read a bunch of them. You're the first person that's actually come out and said, we can't lengthen the westbound left turn lane on State Avenue because it would require going across the Hog Creek Bridge. You're the first person that said that, so I know you're an honest man, but that left turn lane is, it's a terrible situation. It needs to be lengthened somehow. But I would like, if you could, to bring up page 99 in the book, which would be page 13 of the traffic study. Would you be able to talk about this diagram with me? Sure. Very good. On this drawing, where would the Hog Creek Bridge be? Would it be east or west of the east U-turn lane or U-turn?
Yeah, the bridge would be to the west of that east U-turn lane, so it'd be inside that median area there.
Okay. And then 171st Street, where would it be in location to the west U-turn lane or U-turn on State Avenue?
It would be to the west.
171st would be to the west?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
I don't have that illustrated on there, but.
The one major problem I have with this, well, I've got a couple of minor problems, but the major problem I have is that at that west U-turn, you've got an extremely limited sight distance, and you're turning out onto State Avenue into 65-mile-an-hour traffic. And I use that in parentheses because if you've driven that road, nobody's driving 65 miles an hour. It's a high-speed interchange out there. We have an undercut intersection in Baser, or something similar to this, at K7 and Parallel.
Correct.
And I avoid it whenever I can, but it works because it has traffic signals. Would these U-turns be signalized?
These would not, with the level of traffic we're looking at from full development.
Okay, well, the reason that the one works at Parallel and K7 is because everybody hates it, nobody uses it. But is signalized so that when you turn, when you make the U-turn, you sit there and you wait for an arrow and the traffic stops and you can make that turn and then, get across the traffic really quickly and into the right turn lane to come back down parallel. This doesn't work in my opinion. I didn't say that to get a cheer. I'm just talking my opinion right now. But this interchange doesn't work. Obviously, the Hog Creek Bridge is going to create issues so that you can't lengthen the left turn lane to KDOT standards. I think something needs to be, we need to look at something else on this. And I'll tell you right now, I cannot vote yes on this because of this traffic issue right here. But anyway, Stacy asked a minute ago about Evans Road and 166. I've read through the traffic study and I thought I saw something about that, but were you planning to do something like a four-way stop there or something like that? Or were you proposing doing something like that?
No, there was no finding for a four-way stop at that intersection. So it
has a very limited turn area that you can get visibility on it, and it's one of those. It's another scary intersection. And I think somebody mentioned in the last 20 some years, a couple of people have been killed there. It's not a safe interchange. It would be something that I would that you'd have to look at. But has KDOT looked at this proposal, and have they made any comments about it?
So I can give you a little history here on what we've done. So we did collect our traffic counts for the study originally in May. It was May 6th is what we collected. We collected counts at 166th and State and also 166th in Evans. The city asked for some additional counts to be done. So that's when we collected counts on June 4th. By the time we got that request, school was out. We collected counts at 158th in Evans and 166th in Pinehurst after school was out. We went ahead and adjusted the through volumes of our counts that we used for analysis because we knew we wanted to bring those up to conditions that matched the May counts. So we did account for that. In those, we did also look at 166th and Evans site distance and found that the site distance met criteria to allow for all movements there. We did submit the traffic study to the city and they have reviewed it along with their consultant. We've submitted it to KDOT. We have not heard back all their comments at this time. So I don't know that process, but we're supposed to be getting comments back in by next week from KDOT. So.
Yeah, and I have spoken, I've lived in this area about 16 years now. I have had face-to-face meetings with KDOT, and I've also emailed back and forth with them prior to becoming a planning commissioner about this interchange. And in the past, they basically told me that there's no money in the budget at this time to do any improvements on the interchange or on this intersection. Would you be looking to have KDOT make the investment in this, or would your developer be making an investment in this interchange?
So I studied the process and did that and we identify improvements. I don't have any role in funding or who contributes to that. So
okay,
sorry, I can't answer that one for you. But,
okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate your honesty and appreciate the fact that you had good answers or had answers to all my questions. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you, Jim. I've got issues. One question for staff. We spoke about the open space
and the floodplain, how much comes into play for city requirements. It says open space is 35.4%. How much of that is actual floodplain? How much is what will eventually be probably commercial? Is the commercial proposed possible commercial space part of that initial green space that's being?
So to answer the first question, the floodplain, I believe accounts for, I'm not sure how much the floodplain accounts for. That just wasn't a part of the calculation since it's allowed to be in the common usable open space per our definition. So I don't have a great answer to that. And then the proposal is strictly for residential. Any future development outside of that would have to amend these plans and go through the same process. So.
One thing I do have an issue with is an 8-foot trail as opposed to 10-foot, like we've got most of the rest of the city. I have an issue with setbacks, as does everyone from what I'm hearing. Like everyone else, I have concerns about traffic. Has the developer spoken to the county about the county roads, 155th or 158th, 166th, Evans Road? County have any plans for improvements?
The applicant is certainly welcome to speak to it, but at the preliminary development plan stage, we don't typically request that approval is granted. But it's understood throughout the process and conditions are obviously set that if the development wants to occur at all, they'll need that first 2 access points on Evans Road. So we haven't requested that they make that ask yet, but it's obviously understood by the applicant that would be required.
Thank you. We have nothing further from the commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one clarification, and Alex, if you can help me out here. There's 2 recommendations or requests being considered by this body this evening. Can you please explain both of those individually? Thank you.
So the first is the planned residential rezoning. That would simply rezone the property. On a standalone, it would simply rezone the property. For any rezoning request, it has to have a preliminary development plan attached to it, which is why they're both discussed at the same time and the staff report is the same. But they are 2 separate issues. So in order for the preliminary development plan to exist, it obviously has to be in planned residential zoning. But given that this body the vote today is simply a recommendation to city council, it is technically possible for them to go separate ways of approve one and deny the other or vice versa. Although it is recommended by staff that given the cohesiveness and the application process between the 2, that they're voted the same way, but they are more than welcome to be voted separately.
Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion on the zoning issue only.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not comfortable with the preliminary development plan, but we'll see where that goes. I am comfortable with the zoning request. I make the motion to approve case number PRZ 00225, request to rezone Pinehurst Red to planned residential based upon the factors to be considered.
Do I have a second?
I will second the zoning issue.
Take a vote. Jim?
No.
Janice?
No.
Tom?
Yes.
Stacy?
I vote no.
Blake?
Yes.
Mike?
No.
And I vote yes. Motion is denied. Do we go ahead with the?
Yeah, so that was just a motion that failed, so we still do need a successful motion on the rezoning.
I'm sorry, that was the zoning.
So that motion was for approving the rezoning request. That motion failed,
Yes.
which means that no successful motion has been taken on the rezoning request. So we will need another motion on the rezoning request. Since that one had failed, no action has been taken.
I'll make a motion.
So the motion for action was denied by a 4-3 vote, so no action has been taken.
Right, I'll make a motion. Mr. Chairman, I move that we deny case number PRZ 002-25, request to rezone Pinehurst Ridge to planned residential based on the factors to be considered.
Do I have a second?
I second. And a yes vote would indicate denial of the motion, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
I'll take a vote. Mike?
Yes.
Blake? Yes. Stacy?
Yes.
Tom?
No.
Janice?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And I vote no. Motion to deny passes 5-2. Item 9, short form.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt. They are two separate applications, so we still do need a motion and accept
still
the
proceed?
preliminary development plan.
We still proceed with?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for preliminary plat.
Mr. Chairman, Blake Waters, I move to deny the preliminary development plan for Pinehurst.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, Jim?
Is this to deny it?
Deny the plat?
Yes.
Yes. Janice?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I vote yes. Preliminary plat proposal is denied. 7-0.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask the city a question?
Sure.
This will now go to the city council, even though it was denied here, they can override our denial of the rezoning and of the preliminary plat. So
that is correct.
So if I felt strongly enough about it, then I ought to go to that meeting for the city council next month and let them know my feelings, so they, in case they want to override what we did here.
City council has the authority via a 2/3 majority vote to override the recommendation of the planning commission on both items.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Item 9, short form plat for Epic Estates LLC. Staff.
Good afternoon, commissioners. The application in front of you today is a short form plat for Epic Estates LLC.
You want to wait till they leave?
Mr. Chair, can I make a recommendation for a 5-minute recess?
Sure. We'll take a 5-minute recess while everybody leaves. Thank you. We'll reconvene planning commission meeting. Item 9, short form plat for Epic Estates LLC. Staff.
Good afternoon, Alex Van Dyke, City Planner. This property is located on the southwest portion of 158th Street and State Avenue. It is a large property of about 150 acres. The applicant is utilizing the short form plat in this application. Just as a reminder, the short form plat is used is acting as a both preliminary and final plat for subdividing a parcel into 4 lots or less. The reasoning being that we don't feel as though they need to go through the entire preliminary and final plat process for such a small subdivision. So the plat is currently zoned R0 and is looking to subdivide into 3 lots, all of which meet the R0 requirements. The applicant has expressed interest in future development of each of these lots, but this is strictly platting R0 lots. So in the future, if they wish to do anything or develop these lots, a separate request would come before this body for rezoning and platting in the future. If any development were to occur, it would have to adhere to the standards of R0 zoning, of which it is currently zoned. The surrounding area is currently to the south zoned as R0, which is in Leavenworth County, as well as to the west, to the east, and to the north are commercial across 158th Street along Pinehurst Drive, and to the north with the winery. The comprehensive plan has this outlined as mostly commercial on the north bordering State Avenue, and then medium density residential as we go down south. Again, this does not plat it for any of that type of development. It will still be zoned R0. And if any requests for development come in the future, they'll have to come back to this body. This is the one item of the night that does not require a public hearing, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Have any questions? If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the request for a short form plat for Epic Estates LLC.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, Jim?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I vote yes, motion passes 7-0.
Yeah.
Item 10, PADM 007-25, text amendment to the Baser subdivision regulations regarding an increase to the living floor area requirement. Public hearing is required. Staff?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Planning Commissioner Jim Sherman, Planning and Zoning Director. The text amendment before you tonight is strictly for R1 zoning. Staff has entertained some questions since this was introduced. This is not for any other zoning. So before we were discussing a PR, this will not apply to any PR zoning. This isn't also retroactive to a previously approved R1 subdivision that would be under construction. They would be exempt because they've already had their qualifications approved by this body and the city council. Staff, since we came together last September, and there's a whole, after tonight, there's a whole lot of activity along with this, but we are, just to make you aware, this, what you saw tonight is the norm. Yeah, getting anything out of anybody's head about 10,000 square foot lots is probably going to be in the past. I'm talking about Overland Park, Lenexa, Shawnee, Olathe, high-end developing communities. KCK is even discussing eliminating R1 zoning altogether and just going to planned developments. So in other words, the things that are going to be coming to us are all going to be smaller lots. But what we'd like to do on staff is preserve the R1 as it was intended to make them look like the rest of the community. Because right now, an example I can give you is an R1 can build a 1,200 square foot slab home, which has been rejected by this body and the city council. And this body and the city council could not say a word about it. By right, they would be allowed to do that. Staff feels that's not the intent of this body and the previous bodies before you and the way the community has developed. We feel that R1 was meant to be a little bit larger dwelling, not an entry-level dwelling, something on a sizable lot, but not a state-sized lot. So to preserve that consistency throughout the community, we're introducing, which there are some metro communities that do this, we're asking that we increase the minimum size dwelling to 1,700 square feet. Now, we've had some queries from the public that you can count basement as finished basement as square footage, not unfinished, but finished. So that's why there's a strike through with that line, meaning that finished basement is habitable square footage and should be included. The 1,700 square foot does mostly apply to one story. You know, you can have 17 cumulative, like you can have 1,000 and then maybe 700 on the second floor. It doesn't matter how you do it, but what we're trying to avoid is just a single slab on grade, 1,200 square foot home, and polling around our community and other communities. The 17, falls right around the average if you look at some of the HBA numbers. So we felt with this movement of PR zoning coming, we wanted to preserve the R1. So when we do have an R1, it doesn't kind of slide backwards on you. And we see the 2-car garage, slab on grade, 1,200 square foot home. We feel that that is best handled under a PR situation where you have the chance as planning commissioners to look at a plan, whereas an R1 zoning, as I mentioned earlier, is by right. So once you state the size, the height, you cannot change that as planning commissioners. City council cannot change that without amending the text amendment themselves. So we came up with the idea that it's best to go and address that now and leave R1 out to its side, kind of in a pristine area where it's still 10,000 square feet, but we should up the size to what's more reflective of the community in R1 zoning, which would be around 1,700. Most of the lots, especially ones that have been developed, starting with Falcon Lakes in 2001, are much larger than the dwellings are much larger than 1,700, but that's a good base minimum that we pulled here regionally. So I'd be glad to answer some questions on our thought process and
Go ahead. I've got questions too.
So I'm sorry, but I'm having a hard time following this. So 1,700 square feet does include the basement or does not include the basement?
It can, as long as it's finished square footage. That's why the strike through was on the sub table note.
Yeah, so if it was 850 square feet on the main floor and 850 square feet full finished basement.
You can go in the basement, you can go to the first floor, but what you just can't have a single story. Yeah, if it's single story it has to be 1,700 square feet. You can get cumulative 1,700 with the basement.
That's what I'm
second
asking.
floor, but as you can see where the strike through comes through is on the 1 story.
Yeah, on a slab.
Yeah.
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 What that said is true, right, Jim?
What's that?
If it was 800 square feet on the main floor and then it had an 800 square feet finished basement, that would qualify?
Well, no, are you saying 850?
850.
Yeah,
On the main floor and then a basement underneath it, 850.
Yes, you can count. So speaking to council, that's how we came up with the tech.
So that would qualify.
Yes.
Yeah, that's.
Yes, but you would have to have finished basement square footage at the time of permitting.
Yeah.
You couldn't have unfinished
and then finish it.
Yes, it has to be finished.
Yeah, but my question is true, right?
Right, but you can have 850 and we did not amend that
I'm
table.
not saying that would ever happen, but I'm just curious if it, Okay, I'm with you. I think I'm with you.
I have the same question, Blake, and I'm not comfortable with that possibility.
Yeah.
So I guess my take on it would be to redo the wording in some way so that a finished basement does not qualify, an 850-foot basement does not qualify for half of the square footage. if you, there's one section, and I'm not sure what zoning area it's for, but it says ground floor and second floor, refers to ground floor and second floor for square footage. That tells me it doesn't include basement, whether it's finished or not. Does that, do you
I
understand?
don't know that, so that's the table we're looking at, and it has, that's why they mentioned. That's why the footnotes were there. It's before my time. We worked it out with council, our development council on the wording. And that's why we went through the finished basement strike through. Well, I'm fine if you don't wish to see that format. I just meant I don't know of any requirement that. It almost sounds like you're telling me there has to be a ground floor and a second floor.
No, what I'm saying is a finished basement should not be included in total square footage for what we're trying to accomplish here.
Okay.
Mike?
I think the genuine concern is just like Blake and John both said, is that if anybody were to come and try to put a development in town where they were putting an 850 square foot home, but it had an 850 square foot basement in it, which would meet this, is going to be way worse than, way longer than what tonight was. So,
yeah,
I don't know if there's anything that we can do in the wordage of this, like what John was saying, to say that there is to separate a minimum first floor requirement or do something along those lines to where it's basically double what a tiny home would be, but still relatively small compared to anything else that's in existence in this community.
I certainly can readdress this with council and discuss some format. This is just what we came up with as a minimum. Sure, I that's fine with me.
And like I said, I think that was the genuine concern that was coming across from this commission. Do appreciate the other numbers being increased and appreciate all the work that you put into this.
can I, if I could build, yeah. So I think if I'm hearing the spirit of this, going from 1,200 to 1,700 is zeroed in on slabs, which I can appreciate. But it's also allowing full finished basement. That's where the confusion's coming from me. If it was a slab with no second floor, no basement, 1,700 square feet, I'm thinking, okay, the consumers out there, the people that, their income would only allow them a 1,700 square foot slab, for example. I can correlate that. Okay, it's the other, adding that. Does that make sense? The basement thing is what's.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm making myself clear. I hope I am, but yeah.
You're looking for basically a percentage of below grade that counts as the total 1,700 square feet. Because I mean, there's no other way I don't know any way mathematically. In other words, we're just gonna have to allow a basement to part of that or.
Can I put it another way? Yeah, let me just put it a different way. So if this had in there two examples, 1,700 square foot minimum on slab only, and then it had another example of where it would be with basement versus second story, whatever. If we had two variations in there, that would make more sense to me personally. Because I can correlate, I appreciate the 700 square feet personally for a slab as a minimum. But I can't get comfortable with the 850 example that I was just using, which if I'm hearing this correctly, that would allow, that type of a plan. Anyway, I'm probably not making any sense, but.
No, but I completely agree. That's exactly the point that I was trying to get across as well.
But I think, well, I mean, it just kind of dawned on me, what I'll have to do, but we'll have to go through, because right now, if you read column 3, that still kind of shoots the argument. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's you can have a one story at 750. I mean, in other words, you could still have a pretty small dwelling stacked. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go through with council and go through the entire 1.5 story and 2 story and recalculate that. Okay. To balance, in other words, create what we call balance with from the foundation to the second story. And we'll include split levels with that. And then come back to you.
We do still have to have a public hearing on this, correct?
Yes, yeah, there's a public hearing.
Yeah, we do. So at this time, we're open to public comments, open to public hearing. Do we have anyone that'd like to speak?
Brett Haltos.
Brett Holthouse, 1700 North 155th Street. So yeah, so this here, I absolutely appreciate the intent and the spirit behind the red lines. What I think would be absolutely phenomenal would be just eliminate, E and F and D and just go C across the board. But, that's would be ideal for me. To solve what the problem is, I think y'all are debating, is just leave the language in there that excludes finished basement square footage. That keeps you out of trouble and avoids the 150 square foot loophole that any builder that maybe is maybe not right above board would try to take advantage of. My wife's a luxury residential architect in Kansas City at one of the top firms. They never include finished basement square footage in any of their living space calculations. That's not approved in KC Mo, Leewood, Overland Park, Lancaster, Shawnee, Parkville. Across the board, they don't do it, can't do it, never gets across. So
1 minute remaining.
I would strongly encourage. Now, again, maybe there's an exception somewhere that I wasn't personally made aware of before this, so I do reserve the right to be wrong. I'm not infallible, but please just reconsider the strike through and continue to exclude finished basement areas in that square footage calculation. And I think that gets us across the finish line here. I love the intent and I appreciate it. Thank y'all. And thank y'all for listening to everybody tonight. It's been an effort. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? Okay.
Joe Roy, 17123 158th. 17, I've got an 1,800 square foot slab with safe room in it. And that's a pretty good size house. I mean, if you were to come down a little bit on a slab to 1,500, 1,450, 1,500 and not include the basement, you can get a pretty nice house. I guess I'm just thinking of, it doesn't cost that much more to build a house with a basement than it does a slab. All you're talking about is 5 foot of wall. And basically that's it. You're going to take away a subfloor and you're going to put a concrete floor back in it. So, I mean, a slab home is not that more, it's not that much less money than just to put a basement under it, in my opinion. So I think the 1,700 is a little high. I think that it should be somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,500. And then I do know that DeSoto and places that I've built, they do include finished space in basements. They do, but not all cities do that. But 1,700 on a slab is a pretty good size house, and I don't think a lot of people, that's still a $450,000 house. I mean, so I don't know. I just think the 1,700 might be a little too high. So.
There's no other speakers.
I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, Mike?
Yes.
Blake? Yes. Stacy?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
Jim? Yes. I vote yes. Public hearing is closed.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, who was the second? I didn't catch that.
Mike? Yes. I'll open any further discussion to commissioners if you have any. Stacy, you have a comments, question?
I'm gonna make this quick. Okay. I know one of the options is not continuation, but is that an option to continue this?
You certainly can. It's not usually what we include in the staff report, but it is something that is an option.
Thank you. It appears that we've got a lot of opportunities moving forward with in Baser, and there's a lot of updates that need to be absolutely completed and approved in order for us to really have that smart development that we all want. But I think there's the intent versus the nuance sometimes, and I think what you're hearing tonight is that nuance that is more than just the words on the paper. Is it possible in the future, before this gets official to a public hearing, that maybe we have some information sessions for this body just to kind of express what the intent is for what the city is trying to accomplish, so we can then have some time to process it versus, you know, the kind of the quick turnaround of receiving the book and trying to formulate our opinions and making a decision within a couple of days. That'd be my recommendation if possible. Thank you.
Janice?
Good idea.
That's
it.
Okay. Jim, you have anything? Anything further? I don't have anything. I'd like the idea of continuation. Because I agree with Tom completely. There is a need for this to change. I would kind of agree that D, E, and F could probably be done away with. C changed to maybe 1,500 or something like that, but that's something you need to discuss with, I guess, council. So, at this point, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we continue case number PADM 007-25, amending the Baser subdivision regulations, chapter 4, article 4-104 until the October meeting.
Do I have a
Second.
All in favor, Mike?
Yes.
Blake? Yes. Stacy?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion passes 7-0. Item 11, PADM 008-25, text amendment to the Baser zoning regulations regarding an increase to the living floor area requirements and prohibiting slab on grade construction with conditions. A public hearing is required. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Planning Commissioner Jim Sherman, Planning and Zoning Director. This kind of goes hand in hand with the previous item. As I mentioned before, as it stands, there's with no real bottom to the development, you can still go out there and build a slab on grade 1,200 square feet, 2-car garage. With 40 years of experience, I will tell you what some subdivisions look like, and they're loaded down the street with cars. There's code enforcement, and this is new, nice communities, Olathe, Lawrence, Gardner, and we have these houses, and this is what you'll find. It doesn't comment on the people living there. They just have nowhere to go with their belongings. What happens is the garage becomes a de facto storage area. Everything moves outside the dwelling. All the work we do for creating green space, setbacks, livability goes out the door because now the caveat on this, as I mentioned before, this is strictly for R1. What we're looking for is to drive slab on grade construction to this body to adjudicate and decide, just as we did before with the Pinehurst PR, that slab on grade is encouraged by staff, as long as we can do it through some development plans and through some architectural features that as I mentioned before, as it is written now, we cannot comment. Once they have their zoning, it's off and running. And I'm seeing it right now in Baser. In fact, there's some stress dichotomy going on there, is because I go through every house and we're building slab on grades, and they are not commensurate with the neighborhood around them. There's nothing wrong with the houses. I'm making sure that they're, the construction is up to code and meets minimum standards, but the level of livability around them, I'm already getting, why I've had neighbors come out and literally kind of yell at me about what's being built next to them. I can't do anything about it right now because it's already approved as a PR. So what this does is this preserves R1. So if you want to build an R1, which we like, this means you cannot build a slab on grade home without a variance. And so in speaking to our council, that would be to some subgrade or terrain or some hardship factor that they encounter while building that would not allow them to build a basement. You hit an artesian spring or a shelf rock that's impossible to remove within budgetary confines. But we do encourage slab on grade for livability. We just really would like to see it not be an R1, but to be in the PR process. And that way we can talk about the things that this body was speaking to with the PDP tonight, the previous 3 items ago. But we would like to leave R1 pretty much the way it looks like it was 20 years ago with those R1 subdivisions. And so, this is not common in the metro, but we do find communities that do not allow slab on grade with their single family zoning districts. As what we like to see here, they do allow them in their planned developments, but in their straight zoning. Now, we're not addressing R2 and R3. That's not something that we're prepared to talk about right now. Alex and I are working on some potential presentations to this body about small lots versus larger lots and different, doing a polling of the metro. But this time we would just prefer to address R1 zoning to keep it the way it was intended when it was, because I just went through some numbers, and a few years back, you just didn't see any slab on grade homes. You go back to 2003, I think. It's just almost impossible to find when all the homes have been built here. So this is why staff is bringing this to you for consideration, is to only address R1 zoning, not to address R2 or PR, just R1. I'd stand for any questions or comments.
I'll entertain a motion to, or no, excuse me.
Public hearing.
Public hearing is now open. So do we have anyone would like to speak?
No, Mr. Chairman, there are no speakers.
Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I move we close public hearing.
Do I have a second?
I'll second. Sorry.
All in favor, Mike?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
Jim? I vote yes. Public hearing is now closed. Commissioners, you have any questions, comments? Blake, you have anything?
Thanks for looking my way. I think I've got it. I think I understood. Thank
Okay.
you.
Jason, anything? Tom?
My only comment is that this one makes a little bit more sense to me than the previous one, but if they're kind of hand in glove, is there any benefit to also postponing this one? And I'm not saying that's what I'm recommending, but I'm just asking this body if that makes sense.
I'm going to assume, based on what's here, that if there's a decision on the previous item to not go with 1,700 square feet, this would have to change also. So a continuation probably would be, the only advantage would be to me, the only advantage in looking at staff, but the only advantage to passing this and then amending it would be that any new developments would still have to have the base or could not be on slab. So there's a choice there. Janice, you have anything? Jim? So I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, since you so eloquently put those choices, I will take you up on that and move for approval of case number PADM 008 25, amending the zoning ordinance Article 7, Section 2, R-1, requiring basements.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, Jim?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I vote yes, motion passes 7-0. And that brings us to. We have item 12, we don't have any special committees, so meeting is adjourned. Do I have to have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, that we adjourn the meeting.
Do I second? Mike seconded.
Mike seconded. I made the motion.
All in favor, Mike?
Yes.
Blake? Yes. Stacy?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
Jim? I vote yes. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you. Yeah, that's all right. Thank you for doing that.
I like reason. Yeah.